Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're completely flipping the script on how we look at artificial intelligence. We're going to shift our focus away from the glowing screens and the blinking server lights and instead look right at the Earth, at human labor, and at global power structures.
Right off the bat, the source material hits us with a huge foundational argument. To understand what genuinely sustainable AI actually looks like, we can't just look at the code, right? And we definitely can't just plant a few trees and call it a day on carbon offsets. We have to unpack AI's massive contradictions and its impact across three fundamental pillars: the environmental dimension, the socio-economic dimension, and the cultural dimension.
So, let's peel back the layers here. There is this pervasive myth that digital tech just kind of lives in the cloud. It's a metaphor that makes us think of something light, ethereal, and totally weightless. But calling out that myth perfectly sets up the grand revelation of today's explainer, exposing the incredibly heavy, physical reality behind AI.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The myth of the cloud, 2. The massive material footprint, 3. The invisible AI workforce, 4. Algorithmic justice and biases, and 5. AI as a common good.
All right, let's start right at the beginning with Section 1, the myth of the cloud.
On one hand, we've got this idea of the ethereal cloud, this clean, invisible place where data just magically floats around and processing happens totally out of sight. But the reality pulls us right back down to earth. AI isn't floating in the sky. It is profoundly physical, deeply material, and literally anchored in the ground.
Which brings us to Section 2, the first true pillar of sustainable AI, the massive material footprint.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the physical toll outlined here is absolutely staggering. Training these large language models demands gigawatts of energy. Just keeping those massive data centers cool drains millions of liters of drinkable water. And the hardware itself? It relies on the heavy extraction of rare minerals. We're talking lithium, cobalt, and gallium. Honestly, maintaining this infrastructure without a massive shift to clean energy is just seriously accelerating the climate crisis.
And that brings up a really critical, frankly, neo-colonial dynamic: data colonialism. The human exploitation and environmental degradation needed to extract those minerals almost always happen in the global south. Meanwhile, who gets the refined economic value and the tech benefits? Almost entirely the global north. It's a reality driven purely by raw material extractivism.
Let's move on to Section 3, the invisible AI workforce.
Shifting from the extraction of the Earth to the human element behind the algorithm, a pretty stark truth emerges. Intelligent automation doesn't just spontaneously generate. For an AI model to recognize hate speech or spot a medical condition or even just map a face, human beings have to meticulously train it first.
So, who actually does that work? Well, there is literally an invisible army of data care workers, mostly in low-income countries, spending endless hours labeling and categorizing data. They sit there filtering out psychologically violent, traumatic content for absolutely meager wages. AI just cannot be called socially sustainable if its entire foundation is built on the precariousness of human labor.
It really forces a choice between the concentration of power and true emancipation. Right now, the resources to develop cutting-edge AI are completely centralized in just a handful of global corporate monopolies. But genuine economic sustainability needs a diverse ecosystem. It demands technological sovereignty and empowering local open-source cooperatives. Basically, communities need to be able to mold these tools to fit their own realities, rather than just passively buying closed-off corporate packages.
Moving into Section 4, algorithmic justice and biases. Peeling back this final layer, we hit the cultural and epistemological side of AI. And it becomes super clear that true sustainability goes way beyond just the environment and the economy. It's fundamentally about preserving and securing justice for diverse identities and systems of knowledge.
Now, what's really interesting here is this clash between an ecology of knowledges and an epistemic monoculture. Think about it. If the data training these systems is overwhelmingly Eurocentric, Anglophone, and drawn from wealthy demographics, the AI basically acts as a tool of cultural erasure. It silences peripheral dialects in traditional ways of living, creating this massive global monoculture of information.
And this monoculture is incredibly dangerous because it masks oppression under the cloak of a supposed mathematical neutrality. When automated systems, the ones deciding on hiring, granting credit, or public security, rely on historically biased data that inevitably perpetuates structural racism and sexism. And the most insidious part? It does all this while hiding behind the illusion that math and algorithms are perfectly neutral.
This leads us right into our final synthesis in Section 5, AI as a common good.
So, after uncovering all these layers, how do we actually reclaim this tech? The text presents this fascinating paradox called the dialectical contradiction. Get this, the exact same technology that is currently draining massive amounts of scarce resources can also be used to optimize clean energy grids, predict climate disasters, and universalize digital literacy. Both of these realities exist at the exact same time.
Because of that, the challenge isn't just to throw our hands up and reject AI entirely. No, the challenge is to actively dispute its political and technical direction. AI absolutely has to stop being designed solely as a tool for short-term corporate profit maximization. To actually transition AI into a true common good, there are 3 absolute must-haves. First, it has to be developed democratically. Second, the processes need to be completely transparent. And third, it must be ecologically responsible. That is the roadmap to fixing the hidden harms we've been uncovering today.
I want to leave you with a direct, pretty provocative question straight from the source text to wrap up this explainer. Look at the scenario around you, whether that's your city, your school, or your workplace. How do you perceive this dynamic in your daily life? Take a minute to really think about how these hidden layers of AI are interacting with your world right now. Keep questioning, stay curious, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.